Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a Muslim pray? The way they move, the way they bow, the way they place their forehead on the ground, and wondered why? Why do they pray like that? What does it mean? Is it just a routine, or is there something deeper? Maybe you saw it from a distance. Maybe you scrolled past it online. Maybe you even stood close enough to hear the soft words but didn't understand a single one. But what if I told you there is a reason behind every motion? There is power in the silence and a message in that moment, not just for Muslims, but for all of us. Because when you understand why they pray this way, you don't just see religion, you see discipline, purpose, connection, unity, and healing. So sit back, open your heart, not just your ears, and don't blink. By the time this message ends, you might see prayer in a way you never have before. Let's begin. Muslim prayer, called Salah, is not just a routine or ritual. It is an expression of submission that goes beyond words. Every movement during prayer holds a deeper meaning rooted in humility and discipline. It starts by standing quietly, hands folded, eyes lowered, and heart focused. This position is not only about posture, it is about presence. It is the soul recognizing the greatness of the one who gave it life. The act of standing straight before God shows readiness, alertness, and respect. It says, I am here, I am aware, I belong to something greater than myself. Next comes bowing. The believer bends at the waist, placing hands on knees, back straight, eyes lowered even more. This movement begins surrender. It is a recognition of how small we are before the Creator. It is no longer just standing in front of God. It is leaning into submission. It shows that we are not the center of everything. The ego must bend. The body follows the spirit. It says with every breath, you are greater than me. Then comes the most powerful moment, the prostration. The forehead touches the ground, the heart lifted above the head, the place of pride, the face lowered to the lowest position possible. In this act, the human being no longer stands tall or halfway bent. They are fully surrendered, face in the dust, vulnerable, open, yet at peace. It is a posture that removes pride, position, and power. It is not weakness, it is strength. The kind of strength that comes from knowing exactly who you are and who you belong to. In that moment, nothing else matters. Not status, not wealth, not reputation, just a soul and its creator. Rising back up from that prostration is symbolic too. It is like being reborn from the ground up. You went down in humility and you rise with clarity. As the cycle of movements continues, each gesture and every whispered word matches that purpose, to submit, not just with the body, but with the spirit. It is not random steps. It is discipline in motion. It is worship in its purest, most physical form. When you look closely, you realize Muslim prayer is not just seen, it is felt. In the prayer lines of Muslims, something deep happens that goes beyond words. People from every background, every race, every walk of life come together and stand side by side. There is no VIP section, no front seats for the rich, no titles above heads. The CEO might stand next to the janitor, the doctor beside the taxi driver, and no one would know or care. They are all equal before God. That is the power of this prayer. The way Muslims pray doesn't just show devotion, it shows unity, a complete leveling of human status that the world often forgets. They stand shoulder to shoulder, feet aligned, facing one direction, the Kaaba in Mecca. It is more than physical alignment, it is a spiritual synchronization, a shared purpose, a shared direction. It declares that no matter where they come from, what language they speak, or the color of their skin, they are united under one truth. In a world full of division, this moment is rare. No one is more important than the other. No one stands above. The rich man does not get a longer prayer. The poor woman does not pray quietly while others are heard. Every voice, every whisper of the verses echoes equally. There is something else. The way they move together. Not one prays while another watches. They bow at the same time. It is harmony in motion. It is discipline without force. It is obedience without oppression. That kind of unity, voluntary, intentional, and sacred, is hard to find anywhere else. And it does not just happen once, it happens 5 times a day across countries and continents, from skyscrapers to deserts, palaces to prisons. The same movement, the same words, the same direction. This unity is not only symbolic, it is life-changing. It breaks the illusion that we are different because of the labels the world gives us. It teaches that greatness is not found in status, but in submission. It reminds the heart that the person next to you is your brother, your sister in humanity. When millions face the same point at the same time, doing the same act of worship, it becomes clear this prayer was never just personal. It is a statement to the world, we are one. When Muslims pray, they do not go through someone else. They do not wait for a religious leader to speak for them. They speak directly to God. It is not a performance. It is not a show. It is a conversation, raw and real. 5 times a day, they stop whatever they are doing, work, school, rest, to reconnect with the one who created them. That connection does not need an appointment. It does not need fancy words. It needs sincerity. It needs presence. No matter who you are, where you are, or what you have done, when you stand to pray, God is listening. There is something powerful about that kind of access. In a world where people chase approval from others, where doors are closed unless you know the right people, here is a door that is always open, no secretary, no waiting list, just you and the Creator. And when you pray, you speak words that have been kept safe for over 1,000 years, yet somehow they speak exactly to what you are going through right now. Because the Quran is not just recited, it is lived. And when those verses leave the lips during prayer, they cut straight to the heart. And it is not only about speaking, it is about listening too. Prayer is a pause in the noise. It is a chance to hear what is happening inside, to hear the whispers of the soul. Because when the forehead touches the ground, when the heart bows lower than the body, that is when the real conversation starts. That is when the masks fall. That is when the questions rise. Who am I? Why am I here? What matters most? And in that silence between the words, there is clarity. That is why Muslims pray like this. It is not out of habit. It is out of need. Not because they have to, but because they get to. In a world that pulls people in every direction, prayer pulls them back to center. It is not just spiritual, it is emotional, mental, even physical grounding. It brings stillness when life is loud. It brings peace when the world offers none. And every time they pray, they are reminded that God is near, not distant, not unreachable, but right there, closer than the heartbeat, ready to listen, ready to heal. The rhythm of Muslim prayer is tied directly to the rhythm of the day. It is not placed randomly or squeezed in when convenient. It flows with the natural movement of time, starting before the sun rises, pausing at midday, returning in the late afternoon, reflecting at sunset, and finishing deep into the night. Each prayer is like a checkpoint, a breath taken before the next wave of life hits. When the world rushes forward, prayer says pause. When people are buried in distractions, prayer calls them back. It is a rhythm that matches not just the clock, but the soul. That first prayer before dawn comes when the world is still and silent. It is a time for reflection. When sleep is heavy, but the spirit is light. To rise then, to wash, and to stand before God is not easy. And that is the point. It trains the heart. It tells the soul you are in charge, not your comfort. It is the most peaceful moment of the day, a conversation with the Creator before the noise begins. The second prayer comes when the sun is at its highest point, when the world is busiest, right in the middle of the daily rush. Muslims are reminded to pause and think about what really matters, while others are busy chasing after worldly things. Prayer calls them back to the one who controls everything, Then the afternoon prayer arrives when energy is low and minds start to drift.